Doing a home renovation can be a stressful activity involving your time, effort, and money. In order to ensure that the renovation work is done with quality within the agreed schedule and budget, it is important to equip yourself with basic knowledge about home renovations. This knowledge can help you speak the lingo of contractors and workers, and you will gain immediate insight into how the work is done, allowing you to exercise some control over quality, cost, and schedule. Almost all problems that result in an undesirable outcome or increased cost during renovation work are caused by poor planning, inadequate specifications, and not monitoring the construction. To do good planning, we need to understand how the work is done. To specify adequately, we need to understand how to characterize the materials we buy. To constantly monitor the construction, we need to visit the site twice a day, once in the morning and once more in the afternoon. In this podcast, we will deep dive into how good planning is done, how to adequately specify the materials that need to be bought, and how to monitor the construction. Let us start with how good planning is done. Sequencing. Depending on the work required, a number of different tasks need to be completed in a particular order. This particular order is important to follow to minimize any rework which can cause delays. The following explanation assumes a complete change of material in the apartment or house, except for the pillars, beams, and roofing structure. There are primarily five stages which need to be followed in the following specific sequence. The first stage is hacking. For any renovation work, hacking is the first task where doors, windows, walls, tiles, ceilings, and all accessories are removed. Stage 2, decision making. Once the house is hacked, this is the best time to think through the locations of the key elements that will be in the house. This is the correct time to make decisions on all key elements because this enables the connections to key elements to be embedded within the walls. Failure to decide on the following at this stage will typically lead to rework which is costly and causes delay. Lights. Decide on the types and locations of all the lights. Consider sensor driven lights and the locations of the sensors. Fans. Decide on the types and locations of all the fans. Consider the low ceilings and the use of baby fans, which are shorter. Consider the location of lighting to avoid the fan throwing repeated shadows on the lighting. Air conditioners. Decide on the horsepower and locations of all the air conditioners. Decide on the routes to embed the compressor, the input hosing, and the exit piping. Consider the locations of the compressors outside to ensure that they are not close to an outdoor area that will be used, such as a balcony. Instant heaters or drum heaters. Decide on the type of heater and locations of the heaters to ensure that the water input, water output, and electrical wiring are ideal. Switches. Decide on the locations of all the switches for the fans, the air conditioners, the lights, and the heaters. Plug points. Decide on the locations of all the plug points. Fridge. Decide on the location of the fridge. Cooker and hood. Decide on the location of the cooker and hood. Consider the outflow of hot air. Washing machine and dryer. Decide on the location of the washing machine and the dryer. Consider the ingress of water and the egress of dirty water for the washing machine. Consider the locations where clothes will be dried, ensuring that the clothes are not in the way of exhaust air, either from air conditioning or from the neighbor's cooking. Ironing. Decide on the location where ironing will be done and the available plug point. Entertainment system location. Decide on the entertainment system location. Ensure availability of plug points for all the systems. Think through any entertainment systems you may purchase in the future and any additional plug points that you may require and their locations. Toilet commodes. Decide on the location of the commode and the spacing around the commode. Sinks. This is applicable to both the kitchen sink and the sinks in the bathroom. Decide on the location of the sinks, types of sinks, standalone or tabletop, and the spacing around the sinks. Water filters. Decide on the locations of the interior and external water filters. Consider the ingress and egress piping. Water tanks. Decide if you will need one water tank or more than one. This depends on the number of people in the household. Decide on the location of the water tank and the routing from the main supply to the water tank. Decide on which taps will be supplied directly from the main and which taps will be supplied from the water tank. Doors. Decide on the locations of the doors and which way they open. Consider the arc of opening and furniture size close to the doors. Windows. Decide on the locations of the windows and the types of windows. Consider obstructions to window openings. Grills. Decide on the locations of the grills. Consider the width of the opening in the wall to include window frame, the protruding window handle, and grill thickness. Alarm system. Decide on the location of the bell and the locations of the sensors, which when activated will trigger the bell. We now move on to the third stage, which is wiring and plumbing. When the locations for all the key elements are clear, the work can proceed to the next stage. Convey the locations of the key elements to the contractors or the folks doing the work. The electrician needs to know the locations of all the lights, fans, air conditioners, heaters, switches, and plug points. He can then start doing the wiring work. This will involve additional hacking in the walls and wiring inside the walls and above the ceiling. It is important to make a note of the wiring parts in a document. This is to prevent punctures and cuts in the original wiring when drilling the walls for installation of additional accessories is done after the wall plastering is completed, when the original wiring can no longer be seen. The air conditioner technician can install the hosing and egress piping for all the air conditioners. The plumber can start with the installation of the piping. This will include the piping for the sewage waste. It is important to make a note, just like we did with the electric wiring, of the plumbing and piping parts within the walls in a document. This is to prevent bursts and leakages in the piping and plumbing when drilling the walls for installation of additional accessories is done after the wall plastering is completed, when the original piping and plumbing can no longer be seen. The fourth stage is structure finishing. Once all the plumbing and wiring work is completed, the work can proceed to the next stage. The following are the works that can be completed during the structure finishing stage. Plastering walls to embed the piping, plumbing, and wiring, tiling the floors, walls, and bathrooms, installation of commodes and sinks, plaster ceiling construction. Note that the plaster ceiling construction requires extensive scaffolding, so there might be interference with other ongoing works. Window frame installation, door frame installation. Once we complete this fourth stage, we can go to the final stage, which is final finishing. This is the final stage after which the work is completed. The following are the works that will be completed during this final stage. Painting the walls, roofs, doors, ceilings. Decide on the colors And consider use of spray paints for odd-shaped areas. Finishing is of absolute importance when it comes to painting, and the removal of paint drops from the floor. Grouting of tiles. Grout comes in a variety of colors and is applied to the space between the tiles. Grout can either be matching or contrasting the tile color to provide an overall look. Carefully selecting the grout color can greatly enhance the beauty of the tile work. Installation of windows, installation of doors, installation of grills, installation of air conditioners, final wash with acid, and any paint touch-ups that are required. We have just completed discussing the stages of the construction. We will now deep dive into specifying the various materials we need to purchase. Specifications. When buying material, speaking the specifications lingo make the vendors pick up and start listening to you. It's important to know how to specify any material you are buying, else you can easily be taken for a ride. It is always better to buy as much material as possible yourself because you will be aware of the quality and the real cost. Let us start with tiles. These are some of the considerations. Are they heavy duty or normal? Heavy duty tiles can be used on porches where it can withstand the weight of a vehicle. Even when using heavy duty tiles to withstand the weight of vehicles, the largest recommended size is 1 foot by 2 feet. Are the tiles polished, natural, or rough? Polished tiles must not be used in the bathrooms, the stairways, and where it can get wet, as this can potentially lead to slips and falls. Are they homogeneous or are they printed? Homogeneous tiles are entirely the same, which means when a little bit of the tile chips off, the material inside is still exactly the same color or design. Printed tiles, on the other hand, only have the top layer printed with a design, and hence you will notice a color variation in the event of a chipped tile. Variation level. What is the variation level? There are typically two or three variation levels in tile manufacturing. Variation refers to the differences in color or pattern between design, which means these differences in variation levels are not caused by a manufacturing deficiency. Low variation tiles are tiles that look the same. High variation tiles are tiles that tend to look slightly different from each other when placed together. These differences between the tiles make up the overall look of the tile work. Are the tiles Class A, Class B, or Class C? The class of a tile is determined by the tightness of the manufacturing process. Class A tiles are the best, and Class C tiles are the worst. Always avoid Class C. When you buy Class C, the tiles can be of slightly different sizes, different from each other, and may break easily. After buying the tiles, do some sample inspection upon collection or delivery. If there is any deficiency, they can be returned. But if you notice the deficiency after it has been installed, you will not be able to return it. When buying a large number of tiles, it is not practical to inspect all. Always buy tiles from a single batch. When you buy the same tiles from different batches, there may be a slight variation in color which may be visible after installation. Tiles are heavy. If you are buying more than a ton of tiles at one go, insist that they deliver the tiles with a lorry with a crane. This is the safest and fastest way of unloading the tiles from the lorry. Always finish the tile work with grouting. Color matched grouting fills the gaps between the tiles with the color of the tiles, making the overall look seamless and more beautiful because the cement colored lines between the tiles are replaced with grout. We now move on to sinks. Are they countertop or standalone sinks? Countertops always look more elegant but need more space to install. Are they inclusive of a faucet hole or is the faucet installed externally? If the faucet is installed externally, make sure there is space and piping to install the faucet externally, either from the wall or from adjacent countertop space. Kitchen sinks come with many options. Are they single or dual sinks? Are they inclusive of an aluminum space on one side? Faucets. Are they mixer type or single? Mixer types are more expensive. Are they going to be installed on the wall or on the countertop or within the sink? Toilet commodes. How many inches away from the wall is the egress hole of the commode? This is usually specified and a very important factor when selecting the commode. How far out will be the commode after installation? Will it get in the way of walking into the bathroom? Windows. Selection of windows frame and window. Selection of glass. Selection of handle to open the window. The most elegant handles do not expose the screws. The cheaper handles expose the screws. How will the window be opened? Will it be a traditional opening from the left or from the right? Or will it be opening from the bottom so rainwater will not enter? Or will it be sliding? Or will it be a dead window? Is there anything blocking the window from opening fully in the place that you are planning to install the window? Selection of sliding type. If the window is a sliding window, will it slide open from the center to both sides, which means it's two panel depth? Or will it slide from one side to the other side, two, three, or more panels, depending on how many panels you have? How long is the window? Typically, the maximum length of standard glass window is 8 feet. So anything more than 8 feet in length will have to be customized, which means longer lead times and higher prices. The hole for the window in the wall must be at least 0.5 inch larger than the size of the window. Plaster ceiling. The plaster is a straightforward item and comes in standard sizes. The iron is used to build the structure onto the beams in the ceiling to hold up the plaster ceiling. As there is extensive work at ceiling height, it is mandatory for the person installing the plaster ceiling to have scaffolding for the installation. Depending on the design of the plaster ceiling, there are many different shapes that you can buy. L boards are a typical item that is used to make three-dimensional squares in the ceiling. If you are planning to install downlights, provide the person installing the plaster ceiling with a sample downlight so that he can correctly cut the holes in the ceiling to install the lights. Explain very clearly to the person installing the plaster ceiling where you want downlights to be. Lights. Some items to consider are they low energy or LED? Are they downlights or external lights? Ensure that the lights do not appear above the circumference of a ceiling fan to prevent shadows being continuously thrown. Doors. Sliding doors are bought from aluminum and glass shops. Plastic and wooden doors are bought from traditional hardware shops. Wooden doors can be made of either plywood or solid wood. There are three grades of solid wood doors: A, B, and C. Grade A is the best, with C being the worst. Grades A and B can be varnished, while grade C can only be gloss painted, as the wood is softer. It is recommended that you use grade A for main entrance, while grade B can be used for all other doors. Varnish is basically transparent paint. The reason transparent paint is used for wood is so the beautiful texture of the wood is maintained and seen through the varnish. Three coats of varnish are typically used for doors. In most cases, the final color will not be the same as the color on the paint catalog because the original color of the wood has an effect on the varnished look. Unless you are aiming for black or close to black, expect some slight variation. Also, it is good to monitor the door color after each coat. You may like the look after the second coat, for example, and you may not want to proceed with the third coat. Instant heaters. Instant heaters are far more economical than drum heaters, but are tough to make look elegant. Instant heaters use extensive plastic to reduce the chances of electrocution and keep costs low. In order to maximize the elegance of an instant heater, ensure that the water egress from the wall is approximately 4 inches lower and 1 inch to the right of the electrical outlet. This ensures that the water outlet has a short direct entry into the water heater's inlet and that the electric wire can be hidden entirely behind the water heater. Mark out the pipes hidden in the wall before drilling screw holes for the instant heater on the wall to ensure the drill does not pierce any pipes already installed. Use a metal covered rubber to connect the water outlet to the water heater inlet, as this enhances elegance compared to a plastic connection. If the water pressure is low, an instant heater with a pump is a better option. Air conditioners. The horsepower of an air conditioner indicates its ability to cool a room. A 2 horsepower air conditioner is more than sufficient for a large room. The part to conceal the hoses for the air conditioner must be thought through when deciding the location of the air conditioner. There are two hoses for every air conditioner, the inlet and the exit. If you are planning to install the air conditioner above a door or a window, ensure that there is sufficient space between the bottom of the plaster ceiling and the top of the window, ideally about 20 to 24 inches. This ensures that you have sufficient space for a curtain rod in the future. We have just completed discussing the specifications of the various materials we need to purchase. We will now deep dive into some practical points about monitoring the construction. Here are 6 practical points to keep in mind when visiting the construction site. It is advisable to visit the site twice a day, once in the morning and once more in the afternoon. When the visits become regular, the contractors and workers will get used to your visits and wait to talk to you about decisions rather than make decisions on their own. It is a good practice to use a spirit level to check on levels. A spirit level is an instrument designed to indicate whether a surface is horizontal or vertical. This can be the levels of flooring, tiled tabletops, window edges, and plug point alignments. Carry a spirit level with you during the construction monitoring visits. Water flow on flooring. It is important to ensure that water flows in the right direction and continuously wherever water will flow, such as in bathrooms and outdoors. In the bathrooms, let the water flow at maximum pressure continuously for about 15 to 20 minutes. This is the time it takes for a long shower to ensure that water does not accumulate at the egress. It is a good idea to also add shampoo to the mix to increase the volume of water and foam to ensure that the rate at which water goes through the egress is always greater than the rate of water going to the floor. At the same time, remember that the egresses must be built with some protection to ensure that insects and other small animals do not crawl through into the bathroom. Keep talking to the contractor and the workers doing the work about the sequence and the plan. There are two reasons for doing this. One is because decisions may change during the construction, and secondly, because they may not remember what you told them previously. It is okay to make changes as long as the work completed so far is not affected by the change. If you need to make a change that involves doing some rework, apologize and explain how the change came about. And when you apologize, there needs to be a solid reason, not just a whim change. They will feel comfortable with doing the rework. This is important because they may need to do more rework later. If you frequently make changes that require rework, the workers will put less effort and quality into the work because they will start to think that they may be required to do rework anyway, and you do not want to reach this situation. To wrap up, here are four other general points to adhere to when doing a home renovation. Whatever renovation works that are done, do not destroy the beauty of your neighbor's homes. Practice diligent accounting. Keep track of all the money you have spent, both for buying materials and for paying the contractor and the workers. Keep receipts of all materials purchased. Keep warranties for all electrical equipment purchased. With this, I wish you all the best for your home renovation.